Okay. Get out!
So the movie starts off with my nigga over here getting straight yoinked in a suburban white neighborhood. And remember him because he's gonna be very important later. And honestly, it's still crazy to me how this movie was made by the same niggas who made this.
Hey, the longest one.
I wish I were high on pot news.
I wish I was high on pot news.
Anyways, we get introduced to this Snow Bunny and her melanated boyfriend. And right now they're planning a trip to her parents' place. And Brody over here is like, oh, are your parents gonna fuck with me cause, well, I'm black? And she's totally like, yeah, 100%. My parents love black people. And obviously Brody don't trust it, but he's already caught up in her Snow Bunny magic. And I will tell you for free that right now Dr. Umar is struggling to sleep because of this shit. So now they're on the way to the parents' place. And our Snow Bunny entrapped melanated brother Chris gets a call from the only voice of reasoning in this entire movie. His nigga and my goat Rod. So after the call with Rod, they get distracted trying to play love and they end up hitting a deer. They call the cops to report it, and of course, even though I have no idea what the name of this officer is, I am going to be calling him Officer Bradley. Cause he starts asking for Brody's ID, actually driver's license, even though he wasn't the one driving. But Snow Bunny over here presses him and then he lets it go. So now they set off to her parents' house again. And as they approached, off the bat, bro should have already knew to get the fuck out of there. Cause giant plot of land in the middle of God knows where, all owned by some white couple whose daughter has never brought a black person home. Yeah, okay, buddy. So they get to the house and they do the typical awkward greeting with her parents. Her pops decides to give Brody a house tour, and just rewatching this, I realized how much foreshadowing was in this scene. But I might have to make an entirely different video for that, so make sure to like and subscribe. Anyways, Brody notices that the only staff that they have are black. And of course, Papa Snow Bunny hits him off with, oh, I voted for Obama, so that makes me not racist. Anyways, they sit down for tea and talk, and then we find out that Mama Snow Bunny is a hypnotist. And you wouldn't have to tell me twice, I would be gone. But of course, to the discomfort of Dr. Umar, our black, melanated brother is still under the Snow Bunny spell, and his dumbass decides to stay. Papa Snow Bunny tells them that there's an event going on that weekend, and then the creepy maid pulls up while pouring Brody's tea, and then she zones out and spills the tea. Mama Snow Bunny tells her to go get some rest, but the Snow Bunny shows up out of nowhere and starts yapping at the dinner table, and then for no reason whatsoever, Brother Snow Bunny starts doing the most and trying to pick a fight with Brody. But it doesn't end up working, and then they finish dinner, they get back to their rooms. Nobody is trying to explain how her whole family is all doing the most, that they don't understand men of color and yada yada. You know, trying to make herself seem like the only regular person in that entire room. And Brody's over here still thinking that, oh, it's just a slightly racist family that he's in. But he still tells Snow Bunny that he's not comfortable. So Snow Bunny had to pull out her most powerful move yet, her supreme power of seduction. And Brody fell for it. And they end up doing the Boombaya. And while Snow Bunny was asleep, Brody goes out for a smoke and then gets the shit scared out of him by the groundskeeper running at him like he's A-Train or something. And as if that shit was not enough, he turns around to find the creepy ass maid staring at the window. But it turns out she's just looking at her reflection. So Brody decides that that's enough creepy for one night, decides to head back in just to get cornered by Snow Bunny's mom. She talks him into sitting down and then straight up starts probing Brody while stirring her tea, and that's where we get this iconic meme from. And right after this, she sends him into some weird ass trip where Brody kept falling into a darkness. And just like that, it was GG's. Cause from here, it just creepy on top of creepy on top of creepy. So Brody wakes up in his bed having no idea what the fuck just happened to him. He decides to go for a walk, ends up meeting the groundskeeper who tried to run through him yesterday. Pause. Wait, actually, no pause. You know what I mean. Anyways, he's talking to this groundskeeper and he's starting to realize what everybody else has been realizing since. The staff talk very, very creepily, like they just ate the smile fruit or something. One Piece video? So anyways, Brody goes back inside to tell Snow Bunny that Mama Snow Bunny hypnotized him, and then Snow Bunny tries to brush it off and convince him that he'll be alright. At that exact point was when the guests decided to arrive. And remember my nigga from the opening scene? He's here, but he does not look nor sound like, well, my nigga. He's basically been turned to wherever it was the staff was turned into. So some time passes and then Brody goes to meet some blind old white dude and they have some old head to youngin type convo. And remember, pay attention to this old head because this is not the last time we're gonna see him. That being said, Brody heads back inside to call Rod to tell him about all the creepy shit that's been going on. And of course, my god, Rod tells him the same thing that we've all been thinking. Nigga, go home! But Brody decides to brush it off, turns around to get jump scared by the creepy ass maid again. They have a little convo which leads to the creepy ass maid doing this creepy ass smile, cry, and laugh combo. That's literally enough to throw anybody off. And then decides to do this creepy ass walk away. Brody decides to go back outside, starts to make a video of our nigga in the opening scene. And when he turns on his flash, our nigga from the opening scene just genuinely starts tweaking. And then he rushes bro, screaming, get out! And at this point, Brody just thinks that he's telling him to leave. But he has no idea that this is the warning. So anyways, they escort him away. And then when he comes back, he has been re-creepified. Snow Bunny takes Brody away. And while he's trying to convince her to leave, she finally agrees to leave in the morning. But while that shit was going on, the rest of the people were busy bidding on my nigga to see who gets to keep him on some weird KKK shit. Everyone leaves the party and then Rod, my goat, calls bro, telling him the nigga from the opening scene was their nigga. Well, somebody who knew their nigga. They did know the nigga. And then reiterates the point again. Get the fuck out! So Brody's battery dies, and just like fucking clockwork, Snow Bunny pulls up, and while Brody decided to take her with him, is still baffling to me. Anyway, so he tells her that they need to go, and then while they are packing, Brody finds out that he is delusional as fuck. He indeed was not her first black boyfriend, cause he finds a box of pictures with a bunch of black people that she brought home, including the creepy ass maid and the groundskeeper who thinks he's A-Train. And instead of Brody to dip immediately, he starts asking Snow Bunny for the keys. And obviously she can't find it, so he's like, oh, let's just go downstairs, we'll find it on the way. But then he's completely cornered by the entire family downstairs surrounding him. Snow Bunny finally drops the act, and when Brody tries to fight his way out of there, Mama Snow Bunny hits the teacup, making Brody pass out. My goat Rod, still worried sick about Brody, keeps trying to call, but when that fails, he goes to the police, but they think he's joking. They don't take him seriously at all. And meanwhile, while Rod is trying to figure out how the fuck he's gonna save Brody, Brody wakes up in this abandoned type room, strapped to a chair, and then he finds out that the entire family just kidnaps black people to put white people's consciousness into their bodies, giving them control of the black people's bodies. And remember the blind old head from before? Yeah, he's the one trying to get into Brody's body. So now it's time for the surgery, and Papa Snow Bunny sends Brother Snow Bunny to go get Brody. But Brody had already thought of the plan to escape this shit. He had cotton in his ears so that he couldn't hear the teacup. You know, the one that makes him pass out. So anyways, he kind of ends up murking the entire family, tries to escape, but Snow Bunny pulls up with a shotgun, and Brody, trying to be Superman, tries to save the creepy ass maid. Leave that bitch there, because guess what? It turns out the creepy ass maid is actually Snow Bunny's grandma. She tries to jump him, but they end up crashing the car, and then Grandma Snow Bunny is already dead. Snow Bunny pulls up trying to pump Brody full of bullets, misses, and then here comes groundskeeper A-Train running and speed blitzing bro. And at this point, we all thought that Brody was cooked. But then he comes in clutch with the flash, making whoever was inside Grandpa Snow Bunny's body originally to take control. He takes the shotgun away from Snow Bunny, pumps Snow Bunny full of bullets, turns that shit on himself, and then pulls the trigger. Brody decides to finish the job, choking out Snow Bunny. And just then, my goat pulls up to save the day and picks up Brody. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Get Out. Wonderful movie. Plot twist had me sitting at the edge of my seat. It's still very creepy, I wouldn't lie. Definitely gonna count it as a horror movie, one of my favorites at this point. I do recommend you to go watch the full movie so you understand exactly what happened, because I did on purpose leave out a few details. But yeah, comment down your thoughts, comment down what other movies you think I should watch, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one.